Good morrow everyone, Soulcalibur here, and recently I stumbled across a video by Funky titled Games I Would Make If I Knew How, where he just talked about his cool ideas for video games. And as someone who comes up with a lot of ideas and never really does anything with them, this seems like the perfect video format for me. But I don't want to just totally steal his concept, so I'm going to mix things up a bit by making mine significantly worse. This was originally going to be an episode of Armchair Game Design, but I decided I wanted to make this a bit more of a casual video because some of these ideas are definitely less baked than others and I don't want to squeeze them into a certain format. So without any further ado, let's get into this. Well, actually, there's a little bit of ado because I need to play my intro. Number 1. All these kids today with their Fortress Knights and their Pug Bees. Back in my day, we didn't have 100-person lobbies. We were on 2 teams of 6 and we were happy with it. Yes, before an unsuccessful zombie survival base builder took the world by storm by ripping off Minecraft Hunger Games, hero shooters were all the rage. Seems like everyone and their grandma was muscling in on Overwatch's territory. But the only other one that really took off was Apex Legends, and even that's a hybrid battle royale. I have high hopes that the upcoming Star Wars Hunters might breathe some new life into the genre, but in case it doesn't, I have a different idea for a hero shooter. And it's a really super idea. Imagine an Overwatch-style game where you get to play as your favorite superheroes and villains. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to be talking about a Marvel hero shooter, but this could just as well work for DC. You would of course have some long-range heroes like Iron Man, but you'd also have the likes of Wolverine, who like to get up close and personal, as well as some mid-range heroes like Thor. Seeing as how they're superheroes, their health pools would be quite a bit larger than in a typical hero shooter, but there would be no healers, so fights theoretically wouldn't be any longer than they are in Overwatch. Aside from the IP, some things this game could potentially do to stand out from the crowd would be destructible environments, aerial combat, and maybe specific combo abilities for certain pairs of characters. This seems like one of the more feasible ideas on my list, assuming Glitch Simulator 2020 didn't turn Marvel off multiplayer altogether. In fact, this could be the game that Avengers tried to be. Games like Overwatch have serious staying power. I mean, I'm still playing it for some reason. If, by some miracle, anyone at Marvel is watching this video, you have my full permission to steal this idea on the condition that you convince Sony to let Xbox players use Spiderman. You did it for MVC, so don't tell me it's not possible. Make it happen. Number 2. One fateful day in 2019, the world was forever changed when a Stanford University student had the courage to ask, what if Portal but FPS? And thus, Splitgate was born. So now, dear listeners, I pose to you, what if Portal but stealth? A simple addition of portals would add a lot of layers to your typical stealth game mechanics. You'd be able to use them to traverse the area more easily, sort of like the Blink from Dishonored or the off-brand Blink from Deathloop. But you could also throw items through the portals, either to dispose of evidence or to distract guards. You could even use them more aggressively by shooting through them like in Splitgate, or by placing them underneath guards to relocate them. But what makes this mechanic so great is that it would be a double-edged sword, because every portal you create would be another sightline for your enemies. There have been a lot of Portal spin-offs as of late, so maybe this could take place in the actual Portal universe. You could play as a spy for one of Aperture Science's rivals who needs to break in and steal their tech while avoiding their new and improved turrets. It could also work well as a fantasy game, which would help differentiate it from Portal and Splitgate. Instead of shooting portals out of a gun, you could open portals by casting spells. That would also give the developers a ton of room for creative freedom in terms of the environment and your non-portal abilities, because they can just say, a wizard did it. Of all my ideas for the video, this one is definitely the least baked. It's more of an idea for a mechanic than an idea for a whole game, but I think it would be fun, and someone smarter than me could definitely run with it to make something super cool. Number 3. Is there a lesser-known game that defined your childhood, a hidden gem that you don't really hear anyone talk about? For me, that game is Gauntlet Dark Legacy. Dark Legacy is a kind of sequel, kind of remake of Gauntlet Legends, which itself is a sequel to the classic Gauntlet arcade games. Dark Legacy is a top-down hack-and-slash with some very, very light RPG elements, by which I mean your stats level up and you can sometimes buy temporary items. You pick one of 8 characters, 16 if you count their unlockable beast forms, and one of 4 skins. You then travel across the realm, slaying monsters, grabbing collectibles, solving puzzles, and occasionally turning into a fire-breathing chicken named Pojo. It's simple by today's standards, but super fun, especially in co-op. Unfortunately, the Gauntlet series went downhill from there. Dark Legacy was followed up by Seven Sorrows, which went for a darker tone, reduced the number of playable characters to 4, cut out visual customization entirely, removed the item shop, and replaced the open hub world with a series of linear levels. But hey, at least we can unlock different combos now. Yay! A decade later, Gauntlet got a reboot that was exclusive to everything except Xbox, so I didn't get to play it. Thankfully, it doesn't seem like I missed much. There's still only 4 characters, the levels are randomly generated, and it just doesn't look like it has any of Dark Legacy's charm. The IP has gone untouched since 2015, so I think now would be a great time to revive it by remaking Dark Legacy. Simply bringing the game's visuals up to date and adding online multiplayer would be enough, but there are plenty of little things that could be improved, the main one being customization. Instead of just having a few skins for each character, what if there was a full-blown character creator? This makes a lot of sense, because the characters were always meant to be blank slates. They didn't even have names, they were just Yellow Wizard, Green Archer, etc. Also, I would be down with some new realms. As we saw with the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy, fans are pretty open to new content so long as all the old content is still there. Some water-themed levels immediately jump to mind, as that's one of the only classic gaming environments missing from Dark Legacy. I know that a remake isn't really as interesting as the more original ideas in this video, but I don't know when else I'm gonna get the opportunity to talk about Gauntlet. Rights to the series are owned by Warner Brothers, but Dark Legacy was created by the now-defunct Midway, so I'm not really sure how that works in terms of copyright. But even if a true remake is off the table, I would welcome a reboot that bases itself on the mechanics and aesthetics of Legends and Dark Legacy. To keep up the theme of leg, maybe it could be called something like Gauntlet Legion? That would be cool. Number 4. I don't really have an intro for this one, so I'm just gonna jump right into it. Or should I say, jump kick right into it? Ha! I do have an intro! I want a fighting game that parodies fighting games. Dive Kick kind of does this, but it more so pokes fun at the fighting game community and the very concept of fighting games than it does specific fighting games. Wow, 2 sentences in and I've already said fighting game 5 times. And then I just said it a 6th. I'm imagining a fighting game, dang it, that's 7. Where each character represents a different, well-established fighting... fixture. For example, there could be a multicolored ninja to make fun of Mortal Kombat's many palette swaps of Scorpion and Sub-Zero. And since Mortal Kombat is known for its excessive violence, he could have a real edgelord personality. I'm imagining him being all, "I am the harbinger of agony, this world shall burn in hellfire," and then gets beaten up by like an 18-year-old volleyball player representing Dead or Alive. But it's not all about aesthetics, they would also play like the series they're based on. The Killer Instinct stand-in would have giant combos, while the Samurai Showdown stand-in would be all about landing a few devastating blows. You could even give them specific mechanics from those games. Rage for Tekken, Clashes for Injustice, Bursts for Guilty Gear. Heck, we could have a 3-in-1 character representing MVC who can tag in and out. It's all the fun of a crossover like Smash Bros without any of the legal headache. Man, I wish I wasn't so excited about a fighting game that doesn't exist and probably never will. Number 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. To end this video off, I'm going to do a quick lightning round of ideas that don't really warrant their own segment. So number 5, a cheery Souls-like. Most games that copy the Dark Souls formula also copy its dreary aesthetic and serious tone. On the one hand, this makes sense because it matches the punishing nature of the gameplay, but on the other hand, it leads to a lot of the genre feeling very samey. So I think it would be fun if there was a Souls-like with the energy of something like Borderlands. Bright and colorful and full of explosions and quippy one-liners. That would be a nice change of pace. Number 6, Legend of Zelda fighting game. Enough said. Number 7, Assassin's Creed multiplayer. Assassin's Creed IV, among others, had a multiplayer mode where 2 teams tried to blend in among NPCs and assassinate each other. I'd like to see this return not as a mode, but as a standalone spin-off. Since it's not tied to a specific Assassin's Creed, it could be a big crossover featuring characters and locations from across the entire series. Number 8, Tekken Cross Soulcalibur. Bandai Namco's 3D fighting games share a lot of DNA, and some Tekken characters have even guest starred in Soulcalibur. But when it comes to full crossovers, Tekken would rather hang out with its 2D rival over at Capcom than its sister series, which is a real shame, because seeing these 2 rosters duke it out would be great. The obvious issue is that half of the characters would have giant weapons, while the other half would be fighting with their fists. But Tekken has been introducing more and more weapon users over time, like Negan and Noctis, so there's proof that it can work. Plus, while Tekken characters would lose out on attack range, they would make up for it in attack speed. So as long as movement speed was made universal to keep the Soulcalibur characters from always running away from their lead-footed adversaries, I think this would be balanced. And number 9, Star Wars The Force Unleashed 3. The only reason this game doesn't exist already is that Disney is a bunch of cowards. Unless someone from Marvel is still watching, in which case, love you guys, keep up the good work. And with that, I'm gonna leave this video here. Let me know in the comment section down below if you'd like to see a full video dedicated to any of these ideas. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, I bid thee farewell. I mean, sure, you may have found success with your MOBA, and your auto battler, and your trading card game, and your K-pop band, and your Netflix original series, and wow, you guys make a lot of stuff. He's a generic anime boy in a generic suit of knight's armor. Gets the job done, but it doesn't really do anything to stand out. I do appreciate that they opted not to give him a helmet, as his